It took one. What's it taken before that?
On his death certificate, blood poisoning through one ecstasy.
OK, Dr. Rogers wants to come in here.
The whole point is it's time we drove drugs underground, that anybody has anything to do with them. Yes, no, they're not underground. They're not underground. In this city, you can walk into drug centres, no doubt, and they'll be dished out to people. You can buy them all over the place. It's time we had the laws that actually enabled the police to drive it underground where it belongs, and then our young people will be safe.
Is he right? I mean, isn't driving it underground actually to get rid of it? I mean, is this really practical?
I think we have to be honest and say we've lost the war against drugs. I think we probably lost it 10 years ago. But what we've got to do is we've really got to keep fighting hard for the generations that come behind us.
Yeah.
Are you astonished to hear a police officer saying that?
Well, I would go further. I would say, I lived through the hippie times, and there was maybe 100,000 people then taking drugs, and these people's policies were practiced then. I had many friends who went to 10 years in jail for a little piece of hash of this size. Now policemen come and tell me, oh, well, hash is not so bad. Now it's ecstasy they blame. 5 years from now, they'll be saying the same thing about ecstasy.
We're not blaming
We've tried their policies.
Hang on a
They tried their policies for 25 years. We started with about 100,000 hippies taken. Now we have about 2 million people. We've tried their policies. They've failed. Let's try something else. Let's try an enlightened attitude to the thing. I personally blame the government for all... I blame the government for 95% of all ecstasy deaths recorded in this country.
Why should the government be
responsible? Because the government knows that there are about 1.5 million kids taking drugs every weekend in Britain. The government knows this. It's tried all its anti-drug policies and people have ignored them. And 1.5 million people have... 1.5 million ratepayers, citizens with rights, taxpayers, are choosing every weekend to experiment with these drugs, right? And the government sits in their bum and does nothing.
What should it do?
It should give them accurate information. It should, if their son had been given accurate, positive, healthy information about how to do it properly, how not to overdo it.
He was. We got people talking around the house.
Let me come.
That assistant chief constable is sat there for the last 20 minutes. He's took a blind eye to nothing. He's responsible for the practice what goes on in the clubs of Birmingham.
No,
he doesn't give the exercise.
We have to let the officials respond here. Shut up. Shut up.
Can't really
Take the microphone away from him.
It's the rave organisers that do it.
Don't waste your time arguing with him. Let me get to the MP here.
He's children and do them over.
It's got nothing to do with the policeman.
Shut up. There was a very serious point made by a gentleman there about laying at the door of Parliament. You're a former MP. By turning a blind eye, by not giving lots of information, by not explaining the thing, by just saying it's against the law and that's that, aren't you, or the government, to a degree, culpable?
Well, I've looked into some of these rave parties, and the stories that I am told is, yes, there are instructions as to how to accommodate an ecstasy tablet. It means that you must not allow yourself to become dehydrated. And yet many of these rave parties actually eliminate any prospect of the dancers having access to water. They charge very high prices for alcoholic drinks, which compounds the problems of ecstasy.
OK, Paul.
Well, we don't sell alcohol.
Well, OK, take the previous points. I mean, in principle, do you think that these are helpful situations or unhelpful situations when at rave parties there's not enough water, there's not enough to drink?
Well, it's not the same parties I go to. I mean, the parties I go to, you always have soft drinks available. It's just,
and also
you make money out of the soft drinks.
They have, now that parties have chill-out rooms, especially for people to go down and cool down after.
I want to know how to make sure that people don't die, how people who have to live near where rave parties happen don't suffer. At the end of the day, they will happen. What is the best way to accommodate all of this culture and make it safe?
Well, the best way to accommodate it is to have it in the right place. But then you've got
to take ecstasy.
But then you've got to realise that if there are very...
Lots of calls coming in. John Hayes from Swindon says, you can't go to... Quiet, please. You can't go to a rave without seeing drugs around. Diane from Erdington says people don't realise that drugs are available in many venues, pubs, clubs, not just raves. But Maria Hopston from Derby says raves are nothing more than a marketplace for drugs. Right, one thing I must tell you about, rather. Harking back to that abortion debate, Keith Davis of the organisation Life has asked us to point out that he does not condone violent tactics in pursuit of the anti-abortion cause. We make that quite plain. Well, that's almost it for the current series. Before we go, let's update you on one of the more dubious characters who faced their critics on the show, Dr. Riccardo Samitier. You may remember his interest in persuading men to part with nearly 2,000...